Hello, happy Thursday. Welcome to Mind Your Money. If you're here for the first time, my name is Tasha. I am a wife and mother. I am challenging everyone. If you are watching this for the first time and you're interested in learning about investing as a part of your legacy building, generational wealth building journey, then please make sure you click like on this video, share it, because I have a guest today who is going to give us a little bit of background about herself, and then she's going to talk to us about her journey and different tips she's going to share about starting investing, whether you're on a small budget, a medium budget, or a large budget. All right. So everyone can start. It's really easy. I am not a financial advisor, but she is doing this full time. So hopefully you will go and check out her channel. I did link her YouTube channel in the comments, and I don't know if I can pin it, but it's the first comment in the live stream chat. So make sure you check out Ella over at Hierarchy Finance Bureau. She's going to be on. I'm going to pull her into the live stream, and then we're all going to talk about investing. And of course, if you like what you hear, if you like what you see, please make sure to share this video, share this live stream. If you're watching the replay, let me know where you're watching from. This is the first time I'm doing this type of video on Thursdays live at lunch, and I'm hoping we can make a series out of it. So let me know what you think. All right. And hey, Desiree. I did say hi to you. And hey, Nija, thank you for listening while you're being productive. I love it. So I am going to bring in Miss Ella from Hierarchy Finance Bureau, and we're going to get the conversation started. If you have any questions for us, please put them in the live chat so we can keep a dialogue and keep the conversation rolling. All right. So.
Hey guys, how you doing? Hey everyone, I'm happy to be on. Hello.
So this has been a while coming because I remember, and I was saying to you in backstage that you were in my live streams for a while saying, when we going live? When we going live? So I'm glad that we can now do it. Yes. So I introduced you to everybody, and I just want you to give a little bit of background when you told me about how you started with what you're doing right now without giving it away. You were working a full-time job. You transitioned from that.
Yep,
So,
into day trading. Yes.
yeah.
Long story short, I feel like I'm finally aligned with my purpose. I've been dealing with numbers my whole life, and this is just the perfect thing for me to convert over into dealing with numbers. So, which is an extension if we want to go back just a bit with the ride share with driving for Uber and Lyft. I really learned so much in regard to utilizing that space in extension to managing and operating a business that literally led me to then formulate my own budget system. Because overall, in regard to how the financial market works, long story short, we are considered investors. Money is considered investment capital, and a budget is nothing more than an investment portfolio, which holds a various range of short and long-term investments that in which one may project a fund over the duration of their own financial journey. So I just pretty much learn how to compress all that in one system so that I can stay focused on the overall objective, which is the final stage, which is investing. Because, of course, we start by learning how to generate capital from the market, from our place of employment. And then from there, we are then to learn how to properly manage these funds to end up at the final stage, which is investing, so we can understand a true method in regard to compounding over time so that we can retire and not have to work forever. Because I know I don't want to do that. So
that's good. That's good. One nugget I took from that already. I'm going to try as much as I can to put like little nuggets that she mentions in the comments, because that was good. Focusing on the overall objective. And that is essentially what a budget is, right? When she said it's an investment portfolio, in a sense. You're giving each dollar an assignment. You're telling all your dollars where to go because you're focused on one single objective. And if the objective is financial freedom, then the foundation would be a written plan for your money, aka a budget, aka that investment portfolio, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
when did you discover how to budget? When did that happen for you?
So again, as I stated previously, I'm a numbers person. So I kept everything in my head. And I didn't realize how unhealthy that could have possibly been. And so I actually got all of that out of my brain and created this budget system. Realized that I had over 200 individual itemized deductions that in a sense align with understanding how the tax deductions work. I'm like, it's more than just me covering my rent and my utilities, my cell phone, stuff like that. Like, you really got to dig deeper through analyzing how the financial market works in itself, which you then being an investor in the market. What are your desires over the duration of you traveling through this financial journey? You really have to understand what those things are. Or unfortunately, that's where the mismanaging of funds are then an issue throughout that journey, because unfortunately, sometimes we don't know what it is that we truly desire from life. And that then causes friction in regard to us truly understanding how to properly utilize the budget. Which, by the way, let me just go ahead and Google this real quick because I want to be precise with the definition here. Let's
Okay.
do budget. So I want to do the budget definition. So it says here that it is an estimate of income and expenditure for a set period of time. And I kind of want to go into a little bit in regard to, I know this probably going to be controversial, but in regard to an individual stating that this was not taught in school, I believe that the issue could be is that we were taught math in school, which is a general subject, dealing with numbers, which extends into dealing with time and money. And unfortunately, we don't understand how to correlate what was taught in the form of that subject out into the financial market when we are then managing money, if that make any sense.
It does. I was trying to type in the chat, but I think I want to ask you this question. Would you say the budget is the foundation to starting investing? Like, is that the first thing you would suggest people do? And how?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I feel like now it's kind of like a tie in between learning how to generate capital and learning how to manage it. And the reason why I say that is because I believe it's also an issue with the terms being placed around finance in itself, meaning personal, right? Because let's say I ask you a question in regard to personal finance. Um, is your objective to secure housing over the duration of your financial journey? And if that question is yes, then we have something alike throughout our budgets, right? So then what makes it personal is an extension of if you want to purchase, finance, rent it, lease it, you know what I mean? How many bedrooms you may possibly want. If you want a home, if you want an apartment, condo, that's what then makes it more personal, not the fact that we both need housing, correct? Unless you want to be homeless, you know? So those things are more alike, which means that an extension to that, going back to math being a general subject, I believe that finances should be looked at as general finance and not personal. And then if you want to take it a level down, I would prefer for one to then look at it from a business standpoint opposed to it then being personal. Because the only thing that makes it personal is the numbers and the things in extension to what it is that you desire from this life, being again going back to the housing situation. If it's a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, if you purchasing and financing, leasing, renting, if that make any sense.
I need to replay that because that was good. It's not, the numbers make it personal,
Right.
right?
And I believe that we then get into a conflict with, oh, it's personal, so you do this, that, and the third. But it's like, are we not, in a sense, after the same things? It's just a matter of when you then decide to invest in those things and what it is that you actually investing in, opposed to the actual thing being invested in, if that make any sense. Like,
Would you suggest that anyone on their financial journey, whether starting out budgeting or just, like avid budgeters, should do that during a financial crisis or a financial surplus, or does it not matter?
I believe, again, going back to that, with the hindrance in regards to why it's not being taught in school, is because the perception of it is that it's personal. So how could you teach something that's so personal? Like, it caused a lot of confusion when you describing it from that perspective. It make it harder to teach.
But some people figure maybe because it's not your family or your household, even if it's one person or multiple people, is personal because it's not necessarily a business. But
Mm-mm.
me personally, I feel like if you want to have a successful financial future, you have to kind of run your personal finance like it's a business, because
Exactly.
you
And
have to
that's
stay on top, knowing what your goal
exactly.
is,
So
right?
let's extend that thought and say, okay, you are then, hypothetically speaking, the CEO, COO, and then CFO of your home, which is the first stage of learning how to operate a business. So it's not that it's personal, so to speak, it's a private form of business because you're not operating in a public space with this, if that make any sense. But then when we, hypothetically speaking, as we go on live on YouTube discussing our private form of operating on a public space, then we have to make it a more general topic, because it's not about what I'm invested in per se on a private personal level. It's about me then pulling you into my perspectives to get you to understand it's more of a business or an extension to it being general.
So, with that being said, that means anybody on any budget level, any income level, single, married, partnered up, whatever, can still create a, I want to call it a strong financial plan, because you have
Mm-hmm.
to plan. I mean, I'm sure you do research before you start your trading and your investing, right? To see where, I'm not a day trader. I don't know anything about it. I don't
Right,
think I
right,
would
right.
ever do it, but you have to do some research. You have to be willing to look at the numbers, look at the the financial stability of these companies and whatever is happening. Just like you have to look at your own personal bank statements, you have to look at your credit card statements, you have to figure out your objective and your goal. But you can do that on any income level. Is that right?
Yeah, you can do it on any income level. And I want to kind of interject there in regard to analyzing one's bank statements or whatnot. This is why it's so important to generate a budget, because you don't even need an income to start the process of a budget. Because again, the definition of it here is it's an estimate of income and expenditure over a set period of time. Because all that, hypothetically speaking, let's look at it from a standpoint in regard to the statistics that they state in regard to the average rate of return for someone on an annual basis, which is, I believe, is range anywhere between 50 and 75K right now. So if everyone at your place of employment is at a basic entry level of 50K, then you got those group of people budgeting 50K no matter what, unless they have some additional financial support through their spouse or they receiving some type of government assistance, etc., like to give them that extra push of a surplus to be able to manage more funding throughout the course of that year.
So, what do you think, or I'm trying to form this the right way. What do you think about forming healthy relationship with money per se? Because a lot of people, you are very, I know you have a lot that you want to say, and I want to kind of
I
let you
know.
go on the runway and go with it, just go with the flow. But what do you think is, what do you think about that? How do people build that healthy relationship with money? Because again, a lot of budgeting tips, a lot of financial freedom. I didn't hear a lot about that when I was growing up. So in high school, they
Right.
never taught us basic balance in a checkbook or how to pay bills. That we didn't learn those kind of things.
Right.
But now in this era where people are getting more information like every 5 seconds about investing, about day trading, about managing a budget, getting out of debt, what do you think? What do you think about people forming that healthy relationship? How can they do it? Where, no matter where they are right now, whether they're investing right now or not.
Well, again, from my own perspective, I believe that unfortunately, it's a lot of individuals that are, I want to call it, they are in poverty trauma, if that make any sense. Meaning that to say, let's say one grew up in poverty and they were then restricted from learning how to manage or generate revenue due to the fact of their lack of funding. So let's say one individual may have received allowance whilst another one may have never experienced what that meant until they finally start generating revenue in the form of their first job. So unfortunately, due to being restricted for so long and not being able to have access to a certain level of revenue throughout your journey starting off, then by the time you get your first paycheck, you're not thinking about doing the most responsible thing when it comes to managing money, because you may want to go buy a pair of shoes or outfit opposed to getting your first apartment. Because whether you write the budget down or not, you're literally looking at your paycheck like, this is not enough for me to start investing in these other high priced assets or investments, if that make any sense. Because when you first go look for an apartment, they automatically state that you need at least 2 to 3x whatever the rent is. And 9 times out of 10, you're not coming into the financial market for the first time generating that much funding to be able to secure housing, which is why it takes a while for an individual to possibly leave their parents' home. They just can't afford to leave. So they have to figure out other strategies in order for them to then be able to start vesting properly. Because until then, they unfortunately going to mismanage a lot of money, and that can last approximately over a decade, because the lack then of they understanding as to how to create or structure a budget, because that then will show you how important it is for you to start setting money aside in a form of saving so that you can then generate enough funding to possibly put down the security deposit on a home or put down a down payment on a vehicle or whatever the case may be to avoid debt in the latter future, if that make any sense.
Yeah, I think some people, I'm thinking about my teenager while you're talking, because he's getting close to, a legal age in the country, and I've been trying for the last couple of years to teach him from the very basics. Like, this is what you need to do when you get your money, because it's not just consume, consume, consume. You have to think about building with what you
Right.
get. And that's how I try to explain it in a way that's simple and easy for him to understand. So then as he matures and gets older, then you can really start diving into, I want to own real estate. I want to own businesses. I want to travel across the world. Well, you can't do that if you take every little piece of revenue or income you get and then you just buy up all the things that either run out of style, they go out of style, or you fill your belly and then what do you do with it? You expend the energy, but you have nothing to
Yeah.
show for it. So
Right.
what you're saying is so important. And I really think it's important for everybody to kind of get the, what I want to call those little gems, those little nuggets in between each
Mm-hmm.
word, because it's something so
Right.
important about starting off strong, and starting with a budget is important, because how can you know what you want your money to do if you don't know where it's coming from and where it's
Yeah.
going to go?
Which is literally the reason why I created the budget that I have, which, like I said, introduces a various range of short and long term investments. It's over 200 itemized deductions. Because again, if we want to extend the theory of you being an investor in the market, it's about options, right? So if you limit the options that one can then invest in, then based on their own desires in regard to being an investor in the market, they're gonna only go after those things that they heart then desires with the revenue that they're then generating. Whether he would then, speaking of your son, would be getting it from you in the form of allowance or generating it on his own through the form of his employer. It's about the system, which is very important because it allows them to then learn how to critically think in regard to those investments, if that make any sense.
It does.
Because
It does.
the issue that I have sometimes when I see certain budgets is that it remind me of like a Mead folder or something that we used to get in school, like just a blank folder with a couple questions to kind of allow you to open up this realm of critical thinking. But I believe that it needs more structure in regard to getting an individual on track in regard to how to properly budget, because it's too empty of a space for them to then on this journey for the first time learn how to expand this critical thinking to kind of cover the bases, if that make any sense. There's not enough structure there. It's then allowing them to start writing down things that I don't want to say that's not important, but if we want to look at the entire picture of this financial journey of one working for 30 plus years before they hit retirement, and unfortunately some people don't have enough funding to last them after they hit retirement, that make you start thinking how you need to understand this market in the form of investing, because it literally saves you time and money to really be able to live out a beautiful life in regard to being financially free.
And what would you say is, and this could be different for everybody, right? A lot of people have a definition of that, but what would you say is true financial freedom?
To me, I believe securing basic the most basic assets, meaning, and these are large assets to invest in as well, which is why an individual tends to possibly mismanage money for a long duration of time, because the things that they then invest in are more short term and it's not as costly as purchasing a piece of land, purchasing a home, purchasing a vehicle. You know what I mean? So this is why I believe that the average person go out and invest in an iPhone, so to speak, opposed to trying to factor in putting a down payment for a car or a house, because it's such a large amount of funding to generate just to invest in this one thing that is kind of a challenge for a person to actually generate those funds in a timely manner without them being distracted and investing in other short-term smaller investments, if that make any sense.
It does. I would, um I'm on TikTok, and I started TikTok because after finding my son on Facebook, he said Facebook is for old people. So I went to TikTok. So I did this TikTok that almost went viral because when he turned 13, he wanted to buy these pair of Jordans, right? And I went on there saying I would rather just invest in Nike for you. Like start an
Right.
investment there. Why would I pay $300 for these shoes that you're not going to like next season? And you'll probably want to sell them when you could just buy a piece of this company right here. And some people, the comments were divided. Some people were like, just buy the boy some Jordans. Like it's his birthday. And then other people like, yeah, that makes sense. Good mom.
Well, I
But
believe from what you just stated, both is very important. Why? Because just like I was just explaining earlier about his desires right now in his age group, those are his desires. And subliminally, it could be a little controversial, but those types of things being more like a social status investment, it kind of build confidence and extension to that journey for him to then feel like he got those investments out of his system to then move on to what you suggested, to then invest in Nike in regard to a stock opposed to purchasing that shoe as an investment. Because you got to get stuff out of your system. Like that is a social, like a status piece for someone to have access to. A pair of Jordans, a pair of Nike, stuff like that. Like just like a kid going to high school and wanting a varsity jacket. You know what I mean? Like it's all the same. Those are important investments to make as well.
Growing up, I grew up in poverty because my parents didn't have a lot. My grandparents owned their home, but unfortunately, the children who were the adult children at the time when they passed, they didn't manage it. So
Right.
that's a loss of ownership right there. They lost the house, is gone. So now there's no ownership in the family. So when I was witnessing that as a child, I said to myself, I think I made a vow to myself, I must have, where I said, I would rather own this property and be able to pass it down to the grandchildren, to whoever, because that's residual income for as long as you want. That's the way I saw it. I said, that's how you maintain ownership instead of just buying. Back then it was the latest cassette tape or the Atari or the video game or the shoes or the hair. Like for me personally, I think financial freedom is ownership, because if
It
you
is.
own
That's
something,
it absolutely is. But the most important thing that we as humans can pass down is knowledge or wisdom. Because those assets, the money, it could get lost without the right information being passed down with those things. Because let's just go back to your family home. 9 times out of 10, it was a possibility that no one had enough funding to further keep up this property to allow it to stay in the form of generational wealth for the family. Whether it been back taxes, getting work done on a home, whether it was roofing, like electrical, plumbing. So if the average person is generating 50 to 75K and they have a family to support, unfortunately, that would have been too much of a financial burden for them to keep up, so they had to let it go. And that just be the unfortunate thing sometimes. It's a setback, but nonetheless, it should also be a lesson learned.
I had to write that down what you said. The most important thing we can pass down is knowledge or wisdom. And that's true. Because without the proper understanding of how to manage or deal with these things, it'll just slip right through your fingers. That was good. I had to post that one because that was really good.
Yeah, because you have to think about why the world is in over $1 trillion worth of debt. The problem right now is the fact that we don't know how to properly manage money. Let's be clear. If we learn how to do that, I can probably almost certainly guarantee that there will be no use for the Internal Revenue Service. They only create it because they mandate these things on you because we irresponsible with managing money. We love operating in a red. It's a game.
Ooh.
I mean, because if we go back to the educational system of what individuals claim that we wasn't taught, it's a matter again of how to correlate it. They taught us how to operate in negative sums, just like they taught us how to operate in positive sums. And unfortunately, it's easier to operate in a negative sum for some people, unfortunately. But that's just the truth. So the truth becomes, do you really want to be financially free? Some people may just be saying it because it's just a topic circulating in the financial market. But some people, they really don't want to be free.
Are you willing to do what it takes to get there too? Some people want that quick fix and it doesn't work like that. I'm sure you may have seen that with your day trading. It's not something that, I mean, could happen in one day, but it might not, right? It's something that you have to work at.
It's a matter of understanding. That's why I go back to the educational system. They teach us all these basic things in school. And 9 times out of 10, the average person hated going to school. You have to like it or love it to some extent if you're going to like or love money. Like, it goes together. You can't hate dealing with numbers and then love money. It makes no sense.
Exactly. So I think that this could go on for like maybe an hour, but we don't have a whole hour today. But I want to thank Ella. Thank you so much for coming, because I have all the stuff written down that she's been talking about, and I typed some of it in the comments. So hopefully it won't get lost in translation. So
and if we can piggyback on this next week, if you would like, I'm free. If you free, I'm free to pick this back up. If not, then whenever you're free.
The 8th is good.
I feel like we touched a lot of important ground here that I feel like was very, very volatile with reaching that engagement, with understanding the depths of being on this journey.
Yeah, it's not just simple math, you guys. It's a whole lot more than that. So I want to encourage you, if you have not yet been over to Hierarchy Finance Bureau, please go to her page. I linked it in the comments. I'm going to link it one more time just in case you might have missed it. Please go and subscribe to her, check out her videos, support her on her journey as well, being able to teach this information to others, to encourage you to get real on your journey. I think that's the gist of it. Get real on your journey.
You didn't even tell us what you was eating for lunch.
I didn't eat a thing. If you saw me, I'm chewing some gum because sis has to eat. I have to eat. When I say I am like running all over the place, I'm running everywhere, and I have not had a chance to make anything to eat. What did you eat for lunch, or what are you going to eat for lunch?
Well, my strategy be to save as much money as possible. So I like to fast until probably like 6 p.m. Okay. So I'm just drinking some homemade little Starbucks right here.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's another thing that I want to kind of say before we leave. This right here was an important investment for you making this in this cup right here, because you gotta trick the brain sometimes and be like, oh, no Starbucks, darling. No. Like, but we can disguise this homemade coffee inside of a Starbucks cup. That'll do us some good.
I like it. And you still give the image of, I got my Starbucks today. Hey. You made it yourself. I get you. Hey. I get you. Sometimes you have to trick your brain like that. That is a good point. So wherever you are on your journey, whether you grew up in a financial crisis or a financial surplus, there's certain things that you have to do if you want to reach financial freedom, if you want to see and have the ownership that you desire. There's some work you got to do. And I hope when we continue next week, we'll talk a little bit more about that part.
Yeah, absolutely. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This was so good.
It was.
And I feel like we could just be here talking and talking and talking.
Absolutely. Like, yes.
Next week, we'll talk offline, but next week on the 8th, we'll have another live at lunch, and then we'll get into the ownership part of the whole, journey. And we'll just let Ella talk, because I know she has a lot.
Yeah, look, before we go, I kind of want to just piggyback off what you said about the ownership, because that is very, very important. I hate that it's a rumor going around that, what is it? Like, own nothing, rent everything. I don't even know what it is. It's so crazy. It don't even make no sense. Like, That is the little gray area that's stopping individuals from seeing true generational wealth. How do you think it's formed? You have to own something. Like, it
Exactly.
makes no sense. You have to own the thing to pass it down. If you don't own it, what are you passing down?
Dust bunnies? Not really. This is you got me fired up. So I'm gonna create a list for some future collaborations that we can talk about, because you're hitting some things. And I think it's great that people of color, specifically women, and of course our younger people, the younger generation, needs to hear that it's not just about your outward appearance. You got to own something. I used to tell my son all the time, when you said, I would watch people in like Lamborghinis literally parked in front of apartments that are in rundown neighborhoods. They're not sustainable because there's nothing here generating revenue for the city, but they have a Lamborghini parked in front of an apartment building, which is like backwards to me. So I think we should definitely talk about that if you want to next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. For sure.
Thank you for coming.
Not a
And like I,
problem. Thanks for having me.
of course, next week we're going to talk a little bit more with Ella, and I can't wait to share with you guys what is going on before the summer comes. So thank you so much for being here. If you have questions, please put them in the comments. I can't wait to talk to you guys next week. Continue to mind your money, y'all, manage it well, and live your lives abundantly. Bye for now.